Good morning, JP.
Good
How we doing,
morning,
sir?
Mickey.
I think for you, uh, it's probably still pretty warm up there or up. I should say down in the Carolinas. It's starting to get a little chilly here in New England, so
The
I got my
morning, the
sweatshirt
mornings,
on
the
today.
mornings a little chillier, and then we get up to the 80s, so it still feels like summer.
No, yeah, we're down in the 70s here. That's like our
Jeez.
peak right now. So pool's getting closed up. It's sweatshirt season. It's about to begin in the garage. So I'm actually getting a little excited for that, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah. We've had a few months of sweating it out. It's nice to chill,
Yeah,
chill out a little bit.
cooking.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, welcome to Midlife Muscle and Strength Podcast, everybody, where we try to help you be better, not broken. JP, with his infinite wisdom, sent me a long list of ideas for things to chat about today, and I think we have three really good ones that we're gonna spin on here. And I'm gonna let him take the lead a little bit because he had these in his arsenal, so to speak. So we'll get right into it. What's the first thing you want to talk about, JP? Because I know before we got on air, we previewed it and I'm excited, but I want you to intro it here for the peeps.
Absolutely. Some debate topics we can jam on. So the first topic I have is advanced data versus the feel method. So this would be like, you know, go by the books, exact numbers, kind of like, I mean, I guess essentially it's a mix between it's just like scientific data. Okay, this is what how you should be training versus how your body actually feels.
Mm-hmm.
So which side would you like to take?
So
Or maybe if you have a point on each one though, you want
yeah,
to.
we could go back and forth. So I kind of look at this in two ways. Like the way that it's presented is there's like you said go by feel, right? And then there's the data driven analytics side of it. So I think right now there's a huge influx or kind of a massive market for fitness data collection stuff. I don't know if you ever checked out or seen on social media or seen commercials or advertisements. You have stuff like Whoop bands and watches that collects your like heart rate and like even can track like your readiness and all this different stuff for working out. There's also like bar speed tracking devices now where you attach a little cable to the bar to see how fast your reps are so you can see what the velocity of the bar is. Um, there's just tracking numbers, right? And crunching numbers so you can see like what's my max. Okay, I'm going to hit 80% of that today for sets of three. So I think there's lots of different ways to collect the analytics we're talking about, the data. And I think all of it has a purpose, but I think it can all become overwhelming. And even just the advertising is overwhelming because there's just so much of it out there. There's even like, vertical jump pads that calculate your force, like a force plate, right? So it calculates how hard you're pushed into the ground, how high you're jumping. There's lasers now to track your speed when you're running. I have one of those actually where you can track like 20, 30 yards, how fast from point A to point B. So lots of different ways to track the data. And to me, it seems a little bit overwhelming. I don't know about you, but that's just my initial vibe on the data side of things.
Yeah, I think all those data points are they're nice because they're unbiased. It just shows A to B. Like, okay, this is this is how you slept. This is how your recovery is. This is it has nothing to do with anything else, which is like great to have it. But honestly, like you said, I think it's overwhelming, and I don't really think it matters to the extent. Maybe if you're like a high level athlete, professional athlete, and you're trying to get that 1% better, and it's going to get you, that much farther than anyone else. I think marathoners, they're just like such a small percentage of people who actually need that data, and you could even argue at the end like it probably is overwhelming for them as well. Where you just go on, hey, I wake up, my Whoop says I'm not recovered, but I feel good today. I'm gonna work out. Like, so it's I think some of that data, like even when I had the data on my wrist and could see how I slept, like it affected me. Like I slept really well. I woke up tired and it said I slept really well or I recovered really well. I'm like, I guess I'll train, and I didn't feel like training. Or when it's when it says yeah you're not recovered and you're like I actually feel really good. And maybe for whatever reason you have like a burst of energy.
Hmm.
So I think you like kind of read too much into it. So I think I lean toward more the feel. Like I ask my clients, how you feel today? How's the week going? How's the stress levels? There's so much that goes into it. It's nice to have the data for it, but I think at the end of the day, you just have to go on like, you know, I would say more people need to go on how they feel or be closer connected to how they feel than, trying to follow all the data.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think maybe if you wanted to pick like one data point that you're going to follow, like for a training block or for the week, or just to have something to compare yourself with over time, I think that's fine. Like if you want to have like one thing, but if you're factoring in multiple data points. Like you wake up, you look at your Whoop, and it tells you your HRV and tells you your recovery's low, and then you strap on your bar speed cable, and it shows you that your bar speed's not that fast this morning, and like your all these things are factoring into your training, and like it's all going into your head, and you're trying to process it. It's like you're getting over analyzed and then eventually paralyzed by all this stuff because you don't know which way to go. Like, do I train hard today because my bar speed's slow, but I feel pretty good? Like, which road do I take? You're at like you're getting pulled in all these different directions. So yeah, I agree. I think either go by feel, like, do you feel good? All right, train hard today. Do you not feel good? All right, take it easy or take the day off. That's like the simplest baseline go by feel advice I can give somebody. If you want to put another data point in there, I think it's okay, but I'd limit it to like one factor. It'd be like, okay, it says I'm supposed to do 90% today. I did my first set at 90% and I'm wrecked and it was terrible. We're dropping it down to 80%. Like, there's my one metric, and it wasn't happening today. We're moving on. I don't care what the bar speed says or what your Whoop says about your recovery. 90% is just not happening, so don't push through it.
Yeah, I have a little note I wrote. The best athletes blend both. So like the data guides, just like you said, and then the feel like fine tunes. So I think
Oh,
that
that's awesome. Say that again for the people out there.
I
So
said the best athletes blend both data guides, but the feel fine tunes.
I love that. Yeah.
So yeah,
Because you can't deny that science is good, right? Like it is awesome that we have all these tools, right? Like when we were training, 10 years ago, if someone told me like, oh, you can strap this cable to your barbell and they'll tell you how fast you're squatting today, and you compare that to other days and see how fast your bar speed velocity is. Like I'd be like, "Well, you're nuts. That's weird." Like that, I've never even thought of doing that, but that's something you can buy now, which is kind of a cool tool. But is it really needed? And at the time, was it really going to help me much? No, but maybe it could guide you a little bit, like you said, and then combining that with how you feel could be a good formula for ideal or optimal training over the long term.
yeah, definitely.
So, have you ever like found yourself stuck trying to use data, like a certain metric, and it backfiring on you, or has going by feel ever backfired on you, or vice versa?
I think they both have. uh, Definitely on field. I think I just like, mentally was like, hey, I can just keep pushing and pushing. And I wish I had data at that point to back it up. Like, hey, I should be taking a rest day right now. And I think like, I mean, I guess some data. I mean, I've been on more feel holistic approach for a long time.
Hmm.
Data wise, I mean, I just see weights going up and or plateauing or slowing down. I think like right now in my life, like just with kids and family, I go on more on feel just because it's like data. Like it might say great day to train, and like I don't get to train that day,
Hmm.
so less data. I mean, obviously my lifts are going up, getting stronger, but I don't necessarily have like a super athletic goal.
Yeah.
So yeah, a little
Yeah.
less now, but I think in the past, yeah, like I think sometimes like I spoke with like I had like a sleep tracker. It would say I felt like I slept great, and then I look at it and it said I slept terrible, and then I'd be like, yeah, I'm so tired. Like it would just like
Like all
kind of
plants the seed. Yeah.
change the way I felt about it. And like HRV, and I think a good data points just to make a overall selection You're like, hey, recovery's not there. I'm not feeling it. Great. I'm not going to train,
Yeah. Yeah.
But one shouldn't influence the other. It's kind of a blend between the two.
Yeah. So I'm similar. I've had my own mistakes I've made based on feel. I think a lot of the feel part is mental maturity as an
Yes.
athlete. And, plug for coaches, your coaches can help you. If I get a text from an athlete who says, I'm not feeling that great this week, or I'm feeling really slow or sluggish in my workouts this week, I'll change the athlete's workouts, because if they feel that way, obviously something's off, or they're not optimally performing. We'll pull it back. But if there's no one there to tell you that, you might try to push through those types of feelings, or when your body's not really ready, and that's when injuries happen. You make bad mistakes, or just um, push yourself beyond what you need to do, and you fatigue yourself. That affects your training down the road. So um, I personally, the only data I've been using lately is two things. I have those sprint timer things I've been using, and that's just like once every couple of weeks I'll do it just to see how fast I'm running. But most of the time I'm just sprinting without them, because it's kind of a pain to set it up and all that stuff. I love them, but it's like another addition of a thing I got to set up when I don't have that much time. I'm only trying to spend an hour working out. But it has been cool to see, like, oh, week 1 I was 1.3 seconds, and now I'm 1.2. So it's a good metric for me to show I'm improving, doing what I'm doing. So it's telling me what my training is working. And the only other metric I'll use is I do like a heart rate monitor, like a good one for
Yep.
doing certain types of cardio, because it actually ties in with the feel thing. Like, if you're doing zone 2 work and you're feeling really fatigued, you'd be surprised how fast your body gets to the zone 2 baseline, where you don't have to push that hard if you're pretty fatigued, versus if you're really fresh, it might be a little bit harder to get to your zone 2. So like wearing that heart rate monitor will keep you from pushing too hard, because you might be thinking like, oh, I got to push harder. This doesn't feel that hard. But if you're fatigued and you're on the low end of recovery, you might get to zone 2 easier. So you don't really want to push much harder than where you're at. So those are the only two that I've been using. But yeah, don't overanalyze. Don't use too much data. Become in tune with your body, I think, is really important, rather than relying on metrics and numbers to tell you what to do.
Yeah, it's almost like the type of person, like, you have a really analytical person, they probably want all the numbers, but in reality, they should take all the numbers away and just go on feel.
Yeah.
And the person who's on feel, should probably get some data points. Just be like, hey, is your feel matching up with how you are that day? Like, I love the heart rate monitor. Like you just said, it's like you might feel like, oh, this is zone 2, and it might be zone 3 or 4,
Yeah.
just because how tired you are that day. You can't always go off like just that feel. So I think that's a good example of mixing the two together.
Having a mix. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the next one, sir? What's the next topic here?
Next one we have is traditional cardio versus metabolic resistant training.
Oh man, our CrossFitters out here are gonna get all excited. My Metcon people. So break it down for the people a little bit who might not know what you mean by MRT versus traditional cardio.
Yeah, traditional cardio would be kind of just longer effort endurance for like heart health. It can, you kind of have to spend a lot of time like on it. It's not like just a 10-minute on the bike. It's like, you're looking at 45 to an hour to get in that traditional cardio. Zone 2 would be kind of around there.
Now, would you say like any could you say cardio, like not just zone 2, but any of the zones? Because like if you're just specifically working cardio, like you could be working any of the zones, but it does take repeated effort, etc.
Yeah, I think it's just a longer effort. You could be in any zone, but I think I think time frame wise, I would say like
it's a workout where you're just doing cardio.
Correct.
Like, okay.
Yeah, it's like an hour or 45 minutes, whatever you have time for, like just straight cardio, and then any variation of that in between. Where metabolic resistance training is, you're adding in the strength building with the cardio. And maybe the cardio isn't like, I think cardio is like on the machine traditionally.
Monostructural for our fancy folks.
Yes. Yeah. So that's running, rowing, biking, whatever that might be. And then the metabolic resistance will be like a mix between, you're doing some body weight, you're doing some strength, you're doing maybe some cardio, body weight cardio. in a shorter time frame. So
Okay. So more of like a 10 to 20-minute
yeah,
window.
oh, maybe not even time frame, but like with no rest in between. You kind of just go one exercise to the next.
So like, for example, you might say, um, 10 deadlifts, 10 calories on the rower, and 10 burpees. That would be an MRT.
Yeah, so you kind of could mix some cardio in there, but there's strength and there's body weight movements.
Calisthenics, etc.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, what do you think? Is one better than the other? Is there a benefit to doing one over the other? Could you do just one and be fine? Could you do just the other and be fine? What are your thoughts?
I think if you were only going to pick one, I think you would pick metabolic resistance training. just
Oh, okay.
just because it's a mix. You're getting your lifting in. I think like time efficiency wise, it's better.
Hmm.
I think you can get some of the stimulus from the cardio. Like the longer you do a not as intense, resistance training, but like maybe it's a 20-minute, thing on, some pull-ups, push-ups, rowing, squats, whatever it might be, like kind of a Murph style workout,
Hmm.
a little bit longer. And you can kind of get a good mix of the two, where I feel like just the cardio, like you're missing out on the strength aspect. You're going to build some strength. I'm not saying it's the most optimal strength
Hmm.
with the metabolic resistance training, but I think, it at least incorporates more than just one piece with just straight cardio.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that if you had to pick one, if someone said you go either with A or B, red pill, blue pill type thing, then yeah, I think that's probably, you're right. It's you got to have some strength work in there, and if it has to be mixed with cardio things, then so be it. Um, but I think the mistake people make is, especially CrossFitters, no offense, um, and even now High Rocks people, I'm calling out my High Rocks people, is um, the just cardio stuff and just strength stuff gets lost in the mix because they think they can always just do both of them together, and then you're really not getting like your most bang for your buck from either. You're sort of like getting middle of the road results. It's like if you're hitting heavy back squats mixed with 400-meter repeats, that's potent. That's going to feel pretty spicy, but you're never going to be able to hit your maximum top speed on the 400-meter runs, and you're never going to be able to hit your maximum top weight on the back squats. So, great mix, potent metabolic response where your body's going to be very stressed and have to respond accordingly, but you're not going to get, faster at the 400 or stronger with your back squat as quickly or as efficiently as if you did those two things separately, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. I think there should be, do 2 sessions a day where like, ideally you'd be doing, some cardio and then later on do your strength training. And then
Mm-hmm.
maybe on like the next day you're doing a mix of the two. But I think it's nice to isolate, um, you know, cardio and then the strength. I think you need those, like you said. You can't just be blending them together all the time. I think it, even in our training we did CrossFit, and I think I would have done much better on like having a cardio session or day and then a strength day and then maybe later on the week, maybe a mix of some of the CrossFit stuff that we did.
Yeah, and I think something else, and this is a bit of a pet peeve of mine is, um, if you want to do something like zone two specifically, I think that's really the trickiest one is you if you're working in zone two or those lower end effort, zones for your heart health and cardio, etc. It really can't be mixed with lifting and things of that nature, which I think is a mistake a lot of people make, and we've talked about this on the show before, but. Um, it's got to just be monostructural. It's got to be running or rowing or biking. You can't be like, oh, I'll throw in some push-ups or I'll throw in some burpees or some kettlebell swings. Because as soon as you throw any of that resistance training in, even if it's body weight stuff, you're almost automatically going to be out of the zone two, range, and not training that adaptation that you're looking for. So it's important to understand the difference between the two. Because again, I think CrossFitters are, like, oh, that wasn't a hard workout. That was a zone two workout. I was like, well, no, you did wall balls and box jumps and, lunges. So that wasn't zone two. That was just like a really low and easy lifting workout, basically, is what it ended up being.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a great point. I do think there's cardio is like, good for base fitness. I think you need a base, kind of like you're saying. Like you can't be doing these high level movements and trying to build a base at the same time. But I do think there's obviously we agree that the metabolic resistance training is like a great weapon for like, fat loss and conditioning and some muscle building. It just doesn't hit like it's kind of the middle ground. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
hit great cardio and it doesn't hit great strength. So I think you need to add those bookends to make a complete program.
Definitely. Do you ever miss Metcons sometimes? And when I say miss, I mean like that, a little bit of that feeling. Because I know you and I both, we don't really do much Metconning these days.
No, uh,
Yeah.
I don't.
I don't miss it, but once in a while I'll dip my toe in like testing stuff for athletes, or even when I do my carry workouts, if I mix in some cardio with loaded carries and stuff like that, it is amazing to me how potent the metabolic responses when you do like, you know, high intensity lifting and cardio mixed with body weights. Like when you have that combination of things, the way that your body responds, and it is a pretty amazing effect on you, because it is intense, right? It's a pretty cool response.
Yeah, I think it's you feel it in the moment and it's like really intense, but I would argue maybe it doesn't really like carry over to like long term. Like it
Yes.
hurts, like you're like, wow, that hurt. And
Yeah.
it's like, get am I gonna be really sore? You don't really get too sore the next day, and then it's not like you can't do anything. It's I don't know. It's in the moment you're like, wow, I just did a ton of work.
Yeah.
But it's feels different than just strength or feels different than like a longer
Totally.
cardio.
Totally
So
agree. Yeah. It's
but
an interesting, yeah, it's a interesting, like, it is a unique like feeling, like you said. It is very unique compared to other things.
I think people this kind of wraps people into like F45 or Orange Theory style workouts. Like they feel like they just did so much, and in reality, they did a lot better than just sitting on the treadmill per se.
Hmm.
But I think it's like adds into like, oh, I just worked out so hard, I'm gonna eat whatever I want
Yeah.
because it like feels like you just did a bunch of work, but in reality, it's like you did, but it doesn't mean that you can. People just love that feeling, so I think like
Hmm.
those are why those programs are so successful.
Yeah.
But I think there's better ways to train, or like I think people in High Rocks are missing out on separating the two trainings. Like just because your event or your sport is both doesn't mean that you shouldn't be, working, um, you know, them separately.
Yeah. I actually it's interesting that you brought this topic up too. I just had a conversation with one of the athletes I work with about, they were looking to do like VO2 max type training. They wanted to improve their VO2 max, which is an awesome metric, right? To try to improve. And they are a CrossFitter, and they were seeing some stuff online about doing VO2 max training with CrossFit workouts. And I immediately was like, yeah, it's like very slippery slope to say like just because your heart rate's super high in a metcon that you're training your VO2 max necessarily. Like I think that there could have some impact on your VO2 max, but if you just do like an 8 minute metcon that's high intensity, that's not training your VO2 max. That you could argue maybe that's testing your VO2 max, but real VO2 max training would be like doing repeats on a bike or a rower where you are repeatedly dipping into your zone 4, zone 5, and like getting that stimulus dose in order to get the adaptation. It can't just be a couple random metcons a month that are high intensity and really hard. That's not really VO2 max training. And I think, like you said, that's where a CrossFitter might find themselves in trouble because they think, oh, that workout was really hard. Yeah, it was, but you're not really training a certain stimulus that you're going to get better with, like, from point A to point B, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense.
All right, what's our third one here you were talking about, sir? Because I like this one as well.
This one is full body lifting versus direct core work. So, full body lifts would kind of be, you think of like squat, deadlift, press would be full body compound lifts. And then the direct core work would be more, targeting strength and stability, and endurance for, specific work. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think,
So like sit-ups, leg lifts, like you're talking about directly doing ab work essentially, or certain types of ab work. Ab work.
yeah, yeah. So like which one works your core? You see people do all these core routines. It's like, but you know,
Mm-hmm.
you can't hide your core when you're doing deadlifts or squats,
Yep.
So I think people lean towards doing just the uh, core exercises, ab exercises, and they might be missing out. I
Mm-hmm.
think I think I've my core is much stronger by doing heavy lifts.
Mm-hmm.
You look at like, it just, I think it's the visual. You look at like a strong man or a power lifter, their core is incredibly strong, but it looks
Yeah.
like a gut, like they have a
They're
gut.
like a barrel, just like
Yeah.
poof. Yeah.
So, but it's like a muscle, like you
Mm-hmm.
look at like Eddie Hall, uh, he has huge abs, but like he's just fat. So, well, he's like leaning down now, but he's has a ton of abs down there. So it's kind of like, and then if someone doesn't lift heavy weights but just does a bunch of core, and they really low body fat, like looks like they have abs, but
Yeah.
it's kind of like form versus function.
Yeah.
It's like,
I'm a little bit of a mix between the two because I think that your core is your core is made up of lots of different muscles, just like every other part of your body. So I'm never gonna say something's like not good or waste of time if you're doing some sit-ups or you're doing leg lifts or certain specific core exercises. um, Especially like rotational stuff, I think is important to like focus on that specifically, like your obliques and your body rotating under load, in different directions, etc. Because I think that's really, you're never mimicking stuff that you do out in the world, but you could easily ignore your obliques and your how your body rotates, your core and trunk rotates, and then go out there and suffer the consequences the first time you like reach across your body to pick something up and stand up, and feel your ribs click and you're like, oh my god, what was that? um, so so I, that type of stuff I think is good, but yeah, there's nothing like loading up a heavy front squat and just feeling that you haven't been lifting heavy because your core just turns into mashed potatoes and you get absolutely smushed, right? So I think those compound lifts are like unmatched in terms of the full body core strength. But I think it's also okay to do certain specific core exercises to improve and raise the floor for everything else. Like I really love hip flexor work. So doing like knee raises with kettlebells or bands for people who are trying to jump and sprint, because your hip flexors are really, really important in that equation. And doing, planks or L sits and stuff like that, I think is really good. But I agree, the compound lifts, they just humble you if your core is not strong enough. Deadlift, squat, even bench press. I don't know if you've ever noticed that, but like if you're benching heavy and you are tight like you're supposed to be, your whole, everything is just super locked in. And if it's not, you feel it almost immediately. You're like, oh, I'm not going to make this lift if I'm not locked in on a bench press. My abs down to the floor through my feet, and the lift is going to be a mess.
yeah,
So your core is just super important in all those compound lifts.
yeah, I agree. I think a combination. I don't think people maybe lift heavy enough to get the core effect, with the right form and right technique. Like they might be losing the core right away, or maybe their form isn't there. So I think it's tough to get, feel your core. Not that you're
Mm-hmm.
not using it when you're doing those movements, but, you know, my core is almost like my limiting factor. My legs are strong enough, upper body. It's like what's in the middle that breaks down first. But
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of like just me specifically. I think a combination of both. So doing heavy lifts, like you said, with, some specific core work. I love like pal off presses or
Mm-hmm.
any like, resistance training, resistance rotation. But like that's kind of where you build the heavy lifts is where you build your like global strength, and then you kind of bulletproof it with those specific movements, core
Yeah.
movements,
And
as finishers.
loaded carries, right? you and I big fans. Loaded carries is like one of the best core builders, and it's low barrier of entry
And
for
I'd say that's a
people.
mix between the two that we're talking about. It's like you're
Yep.
carrying something heavy, you're still working your core, working other muscle groups as well. So like, I think that's the benefit of those weighted carries.
Yeah, and you can. There's so many variations of the loaded carries you can do. You can do one arm suitcase carries for a farmer carry. That's gonna, like I was talking about the obliques, right? That's gonna work your obliques and your whole core, all that stuff, your hips and back, everything. So loaded carries are huge help with that type of stuff. If you are not doing great with your core work and you feel weak there, it carries over to a lot of other stuff.
Yeah.
So I have one that I'm going to throw at you, a little curveball for you. So, a lot of people out there right now with the recovery methods, etc. So what is your take on, and this is because you're my food guru. What's your take on like whole food versus vitamin supplementation and juices, just like supplementing versus whole food? Because I'm bringing this up because I see a lot of stuff with like drinking your greens, like drink your greens, or tons of supplements out there now. People are taking buckets of pills, right, for all these different things. What's your take on like just whole food versus the supplement stuff? And if there's a mix, what's the mix, etc.?
Um, yeah, I think it's a lot of marketing gimmicks for the supplement companies. If you, I tell my clients, like, if you're eating whole foods and you have a good diet, there's really not much you have to add in. Even
Mm-hmm.
people were like, "Oh, what kind of protein do you take?" I'm like, "I don't take protein. I
Mm-hmm.
just I'd rather eat it than take a powdered supplement. With
Mm-hmm.
what else is in there. Or even like powdered greens is a big one. Like like you said, like you know, it's like, why can't you just eat a salad? Like, have a salad instead. And like, I just think people like, you know, maybe time efficiency. They just like, oh, I just got to grab
I
something
don't
and
like the
go.
taste of salads. I don't like
Yeah.
a salad.
Yeah. I just want a protein drink and put some greens in there. And that's my breakfast. And like, I think that's fine. But I think if you can sit down, make your food, good quality food, I think you can't beat that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like an analogy would be like this, recovery. Like, what recovery tools should I use? It's like, just sleep. Like,
Yeah.
if you're not sleeping
Number one,
well,
sleep.
why add other things? If you're not eating well, why add supplements? Like, supplement is supposed to supplement your diet, but if you don't have a good diet to start with, like, that's where you should. None of the supplements you add in is gonna, take over for what you're eating. So I think
So
like it
I'm going to
starts.
tell you two supplements I always take, and
Yes.
I want you to tell me. Um, so I always take zinc and I always take vitamin D.
Okay.
Um, and my thinking, and I don't know, and I want to hear your thoughts on this. My thinking is, um, I know for males, zinc is really important for a lot of stuff, immune things, and a lot of other things. And I don't know, my diet's pretty good, but I don't know that I'm getting enough zinc, in what I eat to be sure. So I just take one pill, one supplement a day, and I take vitamin D. Not so much in the summer. I'm not as like consistent with it in the summer, but definitely once the fall hits here in New England, I take it through the fall, winter, and spring. Obviously, sunlight's better, but I just feel like vitamin D is important, and I definitely don't get enough when I'm here working, and the sun is only up till 4 p.m. up here. So, what's your vibes there?
I
Get
think it's if it makes you feel good, then do it. you know, I take a lot of supplements, but my supplements are specific for me. So like I can't really like. I think it's just like
which
I
is
think it'll
from
work.
your
Yeah, from
your
my
holistic
natural
diet.
path.
Yeah.
Nancy Angelini, shout out to her.
Shout out Nancy.
Water Edge Wellness is her website.
Someday we're gonna get her on here. I'm gonna
That's it. She's
pick
gonna come
her. I'm
on.
gonna get
I
her
talked to her the other
supplement.
day. Actually, she said she'll have some time to come on.
All right,
Um,
people. Something to look forward to.
that's it. That's it. But yeah, she. I think just like working out, you have a workout plan specific for you. Your nutrition and your supplements should be specific for you as well. You can't just take a general like this guy lost 10 pounds taking this supplement. It's like, doesn't mean it's going to work for you.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like you have to figure out, she does a great like food allergy test, which I think is a great place to start. So it kind of tells you like, you take it's like a little blood test, send it to the labs. They come back with like, these foods are reds you should never have, then
Mm-hmm.
yellows, and then greens. Like these are good to have. Yellows are like neutral.
Mm-hmm.
Greens are like have as much as you want. And that just tells you like what kind of gut biome health you have.
Mm-hmm.
You might have leaky gut or some other symptoms that is affecting the way you're absorbing your food. So then you could kind of dial in a little more specific of what you should be eating, because you could be eating a food that like is bloating you, and
Mm-hmm.
you're like, oh man, I want to look better in the summertime, and you're eating green beans, and like green
Make
beans
you
is
look.
like, while it's healthy for most people and you'd say it's a vegetable, like maybe for you it's like kind of almost toxic a little bit.
Yeah, and we had that episode we talked about like my body type, me versus you. What's great for me is not going to be great for you.
Right.
And I think this also ties back to our like data versus feel thing. Is I would argue that most people know like a lot of the foods, like, oh, when I eat that, like I'm super gassy, or like I feel super lethargic when I eat these types of foods. And a lot of people, when it comes to food, they ignore that stuff. And there's like, but I like nachos, so I'm going to eat, the peppers and onions, even though they make me really bloated and stuff. And they're peppers and onions, they're good for me. But it's like, yeah, but for you, there's a bit of a side effect when you have those types of foods. Because I think if you're actually paying attention to how your body feels after you eat certain things, you could pick up on a lot of that stuff. I just don't think people pay much attention to it.
Yeah, definitely.
So great stuff. We're gonna get Nancy on here because I think she's gonna be a treasure trove of info. I'm gonna have my notebook out, writing tons of things
she's
down.
like I call her my secret weapon.
Secret weapon.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes, she's why
That's it.
JP is such a absolute unit.
That's right.
So JP, speaking of you being a unit, where can people find you?
JP Wiz on Instagram.
You can find me at the Dad Bod Chronicles on Instagram. Thanks for listening, folks, and we will see you next time.